Going live.
All right, look at that. We're live.
Are we live?
Awesome. We're live. All right. Well, everybody, welcome to the very first monthly live podcast feedback show, integrating both of our podcasts. As you can see here, we've got Zoward from Blacklist Underground, and also AC from Blacklist Underground, and also me from PG-13 with Clara and Zach. So here we are. This is our live show. And basically what we're going to do is just hang out and be the weirdos that we are and address some of the questions you all left on our various platforms on all the previous episodes.
Outstanding. Clara, thank you for the intro.
Hey, you're welcome.
And
how are you boys today?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, well, should we just get into it?
Well, I wanted to so I had them all organized. I did want to lead in with the all right. For our first episode, Zach, one of the comments from Digi, because I can't say his full last name. What's his name?
Oh, that's why he's called Digi. My wife still calls him Anthony DiGiorno. So
that's what would have come out of my mouth, so I wasn't gonna try.
Yeah,
chef's kiss.
DiGello Nardo.
DiGelinardo. Anyway,
Yeah,
he said he loved. This was from the Patreon. He said he loved the Chewbacca conversation. You remember what a hard time you gave me about the Chewbacca conversation? Did you hear this one, JC? Did you watch that episode? Okay, I have this issue with Chewbacca, and I did receive some pushback for this because everyone knows I don't actually know that much about Star Wars. I'm a terrible nerd, like sue me.
Okay.
But this is my issue with Chewbacca. I don't understand how anybody knows his name is Chewbacca because he cannot say that word.
I can explain.
Okay, please do.
Unless Zach wants to go.
I already told her, and it just went through her head like a breeze.
No, you didn't tell me. You yelled at me. But anyway, please do.
So go. It's simple, but it's go.
Well, Han can understand him.
Aha! I told you that. Han speaks to him the whole time. You don't think he can understand a name?
That doesn't make any sense. It's not.
What are you talking about?
It's not a verbal translation. It's a phonetic sound.
You can.
But it'd be like if two people of different somebody is bilingual,
right?
You know, like if you're speaking to a Native American and they're like Unu Chaka Ma Fukasa, and you're like, oh, his name is. Dances with gaseous formations.
But it's not a direct translation. It's just a phonetic sound.
Your name is a phonetic sound, though. Clara.
Yes, and if
by the way, I thought your last name was Meth.
No, a lot of people. Okay, that is my
love.
Yeah,
yeah.
I have a small contingency of my fan base that is trying to make Meath heads happen.
A Meath head? Oh, I like that.
They're welcome to it. I don't care either way, but it makes me laugh every time.
I do like Meath head. So
what do your fans call themselves anything?
Oh, I don't. I have like 30 lonely dudes that write me to feel better, and that's my fucking fan base. So
well, don't bash your fans. You have me. Of course, I don't have a name for my fandom of you either. So
I would first things first. I would change it to Meth. Like,
period.
If Marvin Hagler can change his name to Marvelous, you can certainly change yours to Meth. My brother married a girl. Her last name is Powers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty excellent.
Our last name is Washburn. So take a wild guess what name she's stuck with. She's like, I'm sticking with Powers. Powers is kind of cool.
They're both very pronounceable names. Like Meath is very Irish, and it is. I don't think it should be hard to pronounce because it is just pronounced phonetically, but, names do crazy things.
There's no meth in Meath.
No meth in Meath, exactly. And there never will be.
Well, listen, you never say never. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you know what they say about meth? Not even once.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to.
Whatever.
So there's Chewbacca actually speaks a language. And that's why people can understand his fucking name.
All right.
Clara Meath. How is this hard to understand?
Because you're oversimplifying it. Like if I'm talking to a person who speaks Spanish,
it's literally a two-step logic train.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't add up like that because, like, okay, so if I'm talking to someone who speaks Spanish,
Clara, by the way,
they call me Clara.
300 sweaty nerds now at a con that are going to come up to you, and this is their way into
Yeah.
talking to you. No, well, let's talk Chewbacca over Frappuccino.
Well, and I'll say, as long as that can come.
Yes,
that's what I want. Chewbacca date talk. Sorry.
He makes a good point. Like, if you ever see like a bunch of Wookiees together, they're not like, "Wait, Chewbacca."
Exactly.
You never hear the word Chewbacca inserted in there, which is like,
yes, that's my argument.
I understand that. Like, my wife speaks Thai, and so I hear her talking, and it's like, she's speaking Thai. Then I hear computer. Right. I'm like, oh, they're talking about computers.
Yeah.
And like, even though she can speak computer the way we can, it's like they always add the Thai flavor. Just like computer.
It has to be fancy.
Yes.
I'm like, it's computer, honey. It's just computer.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about computers.
I was going to ask Claire if she's seen your kids and how effing cute they are.
I was just going to say how cute
the first ad she did, one of the first ads was your testimonial for, which is still the greatest one, unedited, the whole thing.
It was. It's like, I'm going to lay down and you guys jump over me. And then you're like, repeatedly.
In my mind, like, it starts with them jumping because I'm like, this needs to be like a somewhat professional looking commercial, and then I realized, it's probably more. He was right, it's probably more entertaining as a slice of life, like some dickweed thinking he's making a commercial.
Yeah.
So it came out pretty well, I thought.
It was A+. But let's digress. People don't need to listen about my CBDs. So Clara's, for some reason, has, I don't know, a black spot in her brain that can't get the understanding that Chewbacca speaks his own damn language.
I just
Han
can actually understand it.
I want a more nuanced explanation.
Well, here, just the way, like, again, just with the Indian analogy, like if they're like, if somebody's like, I'm gonna
the Native American analogy,
Native American, I meant to say Native American, or what is the term now?
It's not
Native American.
Indigenous people.
Yeah.
So, like, if you were to meet an indigenous person, I'm going to do like a bad impression. I'm going to do a bad impression of what I think how I hear them speaking when I see movies.
Good idea.
We're about to get in trouble. But they would say something like if they're introducing me, the guy would say, like Kevin Costner would say, "I'm Kevin Costner."
Right.
The Indian would look at the indigenous person would look over at him and say, Rujuko ni mana chana fana. You know what I mean? And then but later mana chana fana you find out means, the heat flying with birds.
Yes.
Or the guy who crouches or whatever. Right. And so that's why you don't
done to Tonka.
Did I step in it there, or am I cool?
Yes, a little, but you're from Connecticut. People understand you're super white. So
that was I said everything wrong, but you
have a big, beautiful heart. Yeah. And your language analogy did work, though was a little bit. It made us our toes curl waiting for you to clunk it out. But
there's no way I could have gotten through that without getting something.
Oh, I'm sweating, dude.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bud.
You could have just done Spanish or something. No,
there's all these ways. Even with what you're saying, go with Dances with Wolves, Tatanka or something. I'm feeding you Tatanka. I'm feeding it to you.
This has got to be somebody's got to cancel me immediately. I've got to be that Washburn needs to be canceled.
Okay.
I'm trying to be politically correct, and it totally went wrong. I apologize.
So, JC got us fired. Clara doesn't understand simple linguistic translation.
She does now.
I do now because of that analogy.
I am a good teacher.
Thank you. We can move on.
Yes. I secretly don't accept anything that just happened here, whatever.
Yeah.
I can't air it, but I'm a good teacher.
Well, I'll drop a bunch of F-bombs soon, and everybody will forget everything. It'll be like the Men in Black red light.
Yeah, yes, the flashy lights. So I wanted to have maybe a more serious comment here from the Buscema episode. Is it in fact Buscema? Buscema. Okay, because there was a lot of pushback on
I'll tell you why real quick.
Various pronunciations. Well, tell me first.
I say it out of loving spite. I've been told about it's like Sinkadich's last name. Though I finally learned the correct way to say that way back in the day. But regardless, digression. I've been told a million times how to pronounce Buscema. And I've been told Buscema, Busima, all these things like that. And I've been 21 years as a pro, and I've been told about 50 different ways corrected. So now I take the most ridiculous one and I say it. But the problem with doing that, entertaining myself, is after a while it just replaces the actual word in my head. And now I'm back to idiot again.
Yeah.
I went over the
full circle
understanding back to doofus.
I'll give you my Buscema story because when my buddy Dave is my friend Dave I grew up with, he runs Superfan promotions and does a lot of promotions for Mignola and Dark Horse and those guys. And when we were kids, we called him Buscema. And so we used to drive out to Albany. We'd drive an hour out to Albany to meet, Joe Sinnott, the great inker, would be there, who inked Kirby's, fantastic full run and made everything at Marvel look great for 30 years or 40 years. He was basically the look of Marvel for many, many, many years. And when I was a kid, I was like, I said, oh, that's the one you drew with Buscema. And he just looked up. He said, listen to me. Listen. He's like, Buscema. Buscema. I want you to repeat. And he was like, he made me say Buscema. I was like, Buscema. I'm sorry, Buscema.
By the collar, he's grabbing.
And then another quick digression, unless somebody needs to jump in.
No.
But I was chilling out last night, and I turned on the Neil Adams podcast. He shows it on he's got a Facebook live stream. And he was telling like the most killer stories, professional stories from like way back in the day.
Awesome.
And he was talking about how like they had a meet. There was like a big gathering at the artists. There was an artists club or something like that in New York City where all the artists could chill out. Like Frazetta, Buscema, whoever's around. They're all Italians, I guess.
Yeah.
And, Stan Lee was there with Neil Adams, and Buscema was walking by, and Stan was like, who is that guy? I should know that guy. And Neil Adams was like, that's Buscema. That's John. And he's, okay. Like it was just that, and he wasn't saying it to shit on Stan, but Buscema never went into the offices, and he just, for whatever reason. But he told a great story about Buscema, which was that, like, I don't remember what year it was that when Buscema passed away, but I guess he said Buscema came up to him at a con, and he hadn't seen him in ages, and he said, I just wanted to come up and say hi to you. And he gave him this big bear hug. These are both pretty big dudes.
All right.
And he gave Neil Adams a hug, and he whispered in his ear. He said, I've got stomach cancer. He says, this is the last time I'm going to see you. And I got a list of people I want to hug. He said that to Neil, and Neil almost started to cry.
Wow.
It was really touching.
I think it was the early 2000s that John died.
But you know what? If you check, I visited his grave. I visited Buscema's grave, and it does say Buscema on the grave. So it's okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so now you know part of me when lots of words I find ridiculous, so I start, or for whatever reason, I start saying in preposterous ways. Like I say poignant instead of poignant.
Poignant.
Because it's so poorly spelled.
Yeah.
It's like, so anyways.
But you also break into Scottish randomly.
I'm not breaking out my famous accent.
Yeah. We'll see about that.
We have a lot of mispronunciations in my house. My wife calls, like last time I visited Zach in Colorado, my wife said, have fun in Colorado. I'm like, we'll do.
Family-wide mispronunciations are challenging because they become so integrated. You bring them outside the home. We have so many fake words. Like I have 4 little sisters. So, you know, when you're growing up with like lots of little kids, there's so many fake words that are just integrated into the family vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I have the hardest time referring to some basic things by their real names. Like I have to really think to say strawberries instead of strababas. Strababas.
In my house,
You say, Mama, give me some strababas.
In my house, hippopotamus is hippopotamus. It's hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus?
Yeah, because we
That's
read
my rap name now.
I know, that's the greatest rap name.
Yeah. My mother loves that. My mother's like, my mother now when my mom reads the book to the kids, she's like, and then walked in the hippopotamus.
I love it. Oh, that's adorable.
But as a kid, I was told I said grasshoppers were hopper toppers. I said that for a long time.
Oh, one of my sisters called helicopters hopterclopters.
Oh, that's strong.
That's a great one.
It's like Willy Wonka's helicopter.
Right.
Hopterclopter. That can be the working title of our movie about elderly vampires and
the elderly MGM monsters with colostomy bags.
Old monsters. That'd be the title.
It sounds like a horse with rotary blades. A hopter.
The old monsters. I love it.
Yeah, there we go. Clara, hit us up with another.
All right, yeah, let's try to actually do a real thing here. Okay, so for your Buscema episode, back where all this started on YouTube, Xavier Bermeo says, "To me, it definitely feels like the countless comic artists I follow and whose stuff I love do have an immense love for the craft. Maybe you guys have a better insight into the behind-the-scenes chat. Buscema outwardly said it, so that makes his intent more clear. That said, I do feel my comics library full of love." I just feel like that was an interesting comment because you do sort of get both sides.
Yeah.
You do get a lot of artists who do really love their stuff, and you do also get a lot of artists who are just doing it kind of just as a job. You get all kinds, and they're kind of mixed in. And I wanted to sort of bring up, again, this feels like a humble brag, but like once you're on this side of the drawing table, you can often tell, I think, Zach, you can verify this, you can often tell by looking at something if the artist was enjoying it or not.
For the most part, because there's times where I've been in the most miserable state of my existence at 5 a.m. on week 3 of a deadline of a book, you know, that the writer didn't bring the story together. So fucking tired, and you hurt, and you're taking years off your life. You're not enjoying it, and then cut to a year later, somebody brings the book up, and they literally tell you, "I can tell you love this project because of this and that." And it's interesting because I would have never thought about that, but I do love my craft. Every line I put down, I mean, even if it's a shitty backup Marvel Medusa versus Prince of Power story, or ghosting She-Hulk for an issue or two, or there's still some part of me that comes from love from it, even in my most miserable state. So
yeah,
to your point, it's like the ocean. How do you separate the ingredients? Some people have more of this, some people have more of that, but it doesn't seem like anybody's all of anything. It's not a laser beam. It's this weird meandering path and journey in artists. Sometimes you're hyper motivated, and by 20 years later, you're a radically different person. And I have more love for the craft now, but I had more fun back when Murphy and I were doing Outer Orbit. We laughed for fucking hours every day. Our only tough job was editing jokes out of that book so it could be done. But now I do things with such passion I didn't even understand back then.
Yeah.
So but it's way more work, you know.
Right.
So it's ugly. But I'll let JC. You want to chime in? You're very close to some big boys, and you know a lot of things. So talk.
Well, you know, we've got an episode coming up Monday that we're recording with Walden Wong, and that's going to be an episode that is focused on
everyone.
Great famous inker, and he's inked everybody. He's inked all of the greats, and he actually started out with Paul Smith and Arthur Adams, two of my favorite artists. And I also happen to be both of their webmaster for their websites, so I'm friends with the guys. Right. And so I was doing my Arthur Adams.
Both of their love masters, so this is really weird, dude.
They know where my tattoo is. They know where my tattoos are. Anyway, so do you guys.
Of course.
But I was doing the Arthur Adams research, and every time people ask him what inspires him, he just always says mortgage. I got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah,
that's his answer every single time.
Forever he's been saying that.
He's a very funny dude. Like, if you've ever seen an Arthur Adams interview, I mean, he could have been a comedian.
Yeah.
I mean,
all of his interview books are great. He's clever.
Super funny dude. But I think it depends. Some guys I think are. It's funny. Like I talk to lots of different artists, and you can tell the ones who are like legitimately fired up by other artists.
Yeah,
and, looking at other people's art, or like, oh my God, give me that. Like, I just want to ink it.
Right.
Like I'll never, nobody will ever even see it, but I just need to ink that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I just need, or I just need to touch it. Or if they're really perverted, just let me eat it. So I think that, I mean, it is like everything else in life, you do have to pay the mortgage, and it's
right.
a job and all of that stuff that it all factors in. But I mean, like,
cut to Zach Howard drawing She-Hulk and somebody else's style at 2 a.m.
Oh.
I was talking to someone today. I was talking to another collector today, who's a pretty well-known guy in the collecting world, collector's world. And we were talking about, he had bought a couple of pages of Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith, who we all agree, everybody agrees is, he's in the pantheon.
Yeah.
Great artists. I mean, it's just, he was beautiful. Every line. I mean, when he had that Easterbrook nib that he was using, it was the best thing on the shelves. I mean, he was touching the face of God in those years when he was using that drawing style. And he, as we talked about in the Buscema episode, he was like, how does, Buscema has announced his retirement. He's like, how do you retire from being an artist?
Right.
Like Zach talks about artistic thrust. It's like, you've got this, like, you just hang, you toss your pencil here, and you hang
are hung up, and you're done.
You're done. And he's like, and now, guess what Barry Windsor Smith is now?
Retired.
He's retired. So the perspective changes,
Yeah.
Yeah, time is MFer, man.
Yeah.
It makes fools of us all.
Well, it's when you could sell 2 pages for $40,000, it's time to retire.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was 10 years ago was 40,000. Now it's 100.
I don't even know, like, some of those Weapon X pages, some of those X-Men pages, like Wolverine in the snow fight with the Reavers. I don't even want to ever walk by a price tag with that on that piece of art. I don't want to know. I don't want to know those.
I inquired once. There was a page. He had a double page spread from his, like, the Young God series he was doing for Fantagraphics. And
the oversized ones, right?
Huge, beautiful, oversized. And it wasn't his most beautifully rendered work, but he had the new god, or the Young Gods had materialized like in the middle of a city and hadn't accounted for size. They forgot to shrink down to human size.
Right.
So we're all standing there the size of buildings.
Right.
And it's like this unbelievable double page spread. I was like, oh my God, I have to ask.
Right.
So I text, or I email his agent, and I'm like, I really love that page. How much is that? And that double page spread. And this is like 10 years ago, before the prices had even gone bananas. And even then, I think it was $10,000 or $15,000. And I was just like, okay, I'll talk to you. And I'll put away $5,000 a year for the next,
Right.
And you're chasing it too, the curve of the price going up.
Right.
Put money away.
It's hopeless.
And I'm sure somebody bought it for that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
I mean,
right up front.
Yeah.
We got viewers. David's
We
in
do.
the
We've had a
comments.
few.
We
We've
got
had a few come in and out. So yeah, burning up the internet, the Blacklist Underground.
That's right. We're the greatest. We got.
Uh-oh.
Oh, here comes your beer.
Wiki.
My wife.
Yes,
You want to?
hello.
Here,
Hi.
peek in.
Where?
Go. Oh, there you go.
There you
There's Megan.
are. Hey.
For answering questions. So thank you. My wife delivered a.
Oh, lovely.
There you go.
So.
Can I sit?
Yeah.
over there?
Join us.
Yeah, please do.
So let's move to another question.
Well, I want to shout out these comments first. These people are watching us live. So we got Damon Smith watching. He did the theme song for the BLU.
Yes.
Thank you, Damon.
Right.
And
Hey, what's up, man?
And he's doing amazing loser fan art for
Has
our
JC
super
seen it
fights.
yet?
No, I don't know. I don't
Oh
know.
my, you're not gonna believe. I'm gonna send you this drawing after the show, dude. You're not gonna believe
It's
it.
hilarious. The one he just did for the giraffe versus Jack Bauer was the most amazing thing.
The Maori Povich episode.
Yeah. And
It's,
Philip is in here. He says, "Oh, Zach really is a romantic. It's great. He is." Right, Megan? Megan's back there now. She knows. And Damon says, "Great work, everyone. Loving the podcast." Thank you, Damon. And that actually takes us into the next thing I was going to say, which is another YouTube comment on the Buscema episode from Edward Bernier. Hope I said that right. Thank you, Zach, for letting me and Damon work with you on the intro. Much love, hip hop baby.
Woo, thanks, man. You guys, if you guys weren't here at the beginning, one of our first comments was about the intro that you guys performed, and
that's right. Someone was asking what it would be on, like,
listen to.
Yeah, they loved it. There was one other. Oh, what was the other one? Oh, this is a comment I swiped from your Instagram, Zach. Ghost DeLorean says, "At work and was not ready for that intro."
There you go. You're welcome, and I think I even said that as the comment, right?
Yep.
So,
tell
your boss you want to raise.
Here's one from, let's see, which episode was this? I lost my place already. Okay, so this is still from Buscema. Olga, Zach, our friend Olga, said, "Appreciate the colorful language. I really enjoyed it. And Zach's inking was so satisfying to watch. Very cool piece for a very cool episode." So a couple of things on there. She did make a comment on one of our PG-13 episodes that I was not able to find for some reason afterwards, but I remembered it. It was something along the lines of, "I'm learning so many like substitute swears in English." Olga is from Spain, you said?
Yeah, I think she's south of Barcelona. She's,
okay.
Catalan. How would you say it, Megan?
Catalan.
Ah, well, there we go. Verification, Catalan.
So we're
beautiful Barcelona if you've never been.
So we're educating people. We have viewers across the world.
There you go. Oh, Damon says Blacklist Season 1 album coming soon. Well, awesome.
There we go.
As long as we have a Maori Povich episode wrap-off between the pregnant giraffe and Jack. That's what I want, Damon, for Christmas.
You got to sample the 24 sound.
Just the beeping? I think I'm falling in love with this.
I have listened to that clip so many times, and it makes me laugh every time we just go off into the giraffe voice for 2 minutes straight.
Did you hear that episode, JC?
I don't think I. I don't think I heard that.
You would remember. It was epic.
I remember hearing. I remember a piece of it. I mean,
we had a clip, I think, from it, but just a recap. Clara was a pregnant giraffe that
I could change size, but it doesn't really matter in the end.
I was Jack Bauer that had allergies, which is basically real life. It was just I'm always living in that character. And what else was my skill? Oh, I had Cupid's bow.
Yes.
Ooh.
So the inevitable coming together of this was that the giraffe was pregnant with Jack Bauer's baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I made her fall in love with me. Then I took her on Maori Povich to embarrass her. Then I used my Jack Bauer spy skills and used electrical wires to electrocute her to death after making her fall in love with me again. But we carried the story on. The baby was born, grows up, makes Jack Bauer fall in love with her, and gets back and
Yes.
takes him on Maury Povich. And
Mhm.
Jack
So
Bauer
then, isn't that the child marrying the?
Yes, we went full Oedipus Rex.
no, because
Grand Revenge.
Jack Bauer couldn't prove his paternity or whatever. So
Probably because the mother was a giraffe.
well, she was a giraffe hooker, right?
No, I think
So there was a lot of suitors. John.
Yeah. No, you said it was you. They met at a college party. There was a lot of giraffe women there.
Yes, yeah. I was walking around with my Cupid bow with my spy outfit.
I know, trying to save the president of this giraffe sorority party.
Yes, there we go.
There was I was watching the Woody Allen Mia Farrow documentary on
yeah.
HBO,
Gross.
and
I said gross.
well, and they said they had Woody Allen's son Ronan Farrow on there, and he said
That's not Woody Allen's son.
well, his son, and he said Woody Allen married my sister. He goes, which actually makes her my sister and my stepmother.
Oh,
And Ronan has blue-eyed crooner for a dad.
Woody Allen is not that man's father.
Well, it's I think that was brought up in the divorce suit.
Oh,
He
really?
was making demands, and he said, "How about we do a DNA test?"
And she was like,
Yeah, things got shut down pretty quick then. But
Yeah.
let's move on from Woody Allen's love life, as interesting as it is.
as ripe a subject and current as that is.
Oh, Philip's traumatized by our cloaca talk.
That was all Zach.
100% me, but science needs to be just kind of shoved into you a little bit sometimes through the cloaca. That's the best way to get knowledge.
Yep.
That was just poor Yoda. That's all I'm gonna say.
Or that's all the species knows. Maybe they make like cloaca poetry and cloaca art to celebrate.
They're very pro cloaca.
Well, they're just comfortable with it. Celebrate the cloaca. In fact, they have a 2-month celebration called the Cloaca Days.
That sounds
So, at
lovely.
Yoda World. So, okay, next question.
I wanted to add, while it was still apropos, Atomic Bulldog Art commented on YouTube for Clara and Zach, in quotes, and this year's recipient of the Jack Bauer Baby Mutant Giraffe College Fund is...
That was a great comment.
That was.
Yeah, because the college, Jack Bauer felt bad and put the kid through college, right?
Right, yes. Because he impregnated this giraffe and then killed her. I would feel bad about that. I think anyone would feel bad about that, even a super spy with gout or whatever.
Yeah, this is Game of Thrones, but on the Fox network, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, sorry, Philip, about the cloaca. Yeah, I keep thinking about
I
that
promise
as
I
well.
won't bring up Yoda's cloaca. I can't even speak.
Oh, JC, I wanted to ask you, I heard there was an amazing behind the scenes that we missed for the Frazetta episode involving your contractor.
Yes. So I'll have to get the footage because I have my house. Yeah, I have security cameras in my house.
Okay.
On my front, my front door and my back door.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I get security cameras? Because I'm out of town. I travel, and we've got old steam radiators in this house, and we had some work done on them, and we had they were extended up onto the 3rd floor, and so now they do this repetitive knocking sound that sounds like something only a human would do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was out of town. My wife calls me in the middle of the night. She's like, "There's somebody walking up the stairs. There's sounds." I was like, "I don't know what's going on," but she was worried about it. So we ended up installing, I think for cheap. There's a great company called Remo Plus,
Mm-hmm.
and you can put it. It replaces your
Sponsor
door.
us.
And so I've got a great camera system set up, and so I had hired a guy to do some drywall work on my 3rd floor because we were converting the 3rd floor, and he would my axle fell off my car. My son needs a spinal tap. Every day every time there was this, like, there was some kind of there was a nuclear explosion.
Right.
He had whatever. It was
He
always
went blind.
Blues Brother excuse.
Yeah.
it was all just And so finally he leaves. He just ghosts and leaves a bunch of his junk here, and refuses to come back and do any more work. And he did the same thing to my buddy. He was doing work for my friend and did the same thing. He ghosted and left junk at his place too. And so he finally re-advertised the job.
Right.
And he texts me. He says, "Hey, can you pay me the money for the work that I've done?"
Right.
I said, "Yeah, of course I'll pay you for the money for what you've done. You got to come and finish."
Right.
I said, "Come and finish, and I give you the money." And he's like, "Oh, I'll be there Friday. Nothing's going to stop me. I don't care if there's an earthquake. I don't care if no matter what happens, I'm going to be at your house." I'm like, "Great, here, I'll be right here." Never shows up.
Yeah.
Year goes by.
What?
We're literally a year goes by. We're doing our podcast on Frazetta, which if anybody's seen it, it's fantastic.
It's wonderful. Go watch it right now.
It's a good episode. And so
I've watched it like 3 times.
Yeah, it's a good episode. And so
I haven't watched it.
If you watch at the end, I vanish for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, Nick and I are just chilling, talking, and you just suddenly appear again.
Yeah.
Which Zach pointed out is normal for you. You get up at random times.
Yeah, he just went to the bathroom in the middle of one podcast, just taking a juice. I'm like,
they didn't think anything of it at the time.
Yeah. And so, my son had knocked on the door, and he's like, "Daddy, there are men in the house." And I was like, What? So I go down, I run downstairs, and sure enough, this guy and his son are like rummaging around in my basement. The basement door is open, and so I didn't want them in my house. I don't like toothless drifters, floating in and out of my house.
That's just a quirk you have.
It's just me.
Yeah.
And so, and like, you're from Colorado. It's like you can actually shoot intruders. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, anybody that steps in your property, yeah.
And so I'm aware of that. And so I just opened I look down the stairs. And I'm like, "Who's in my basement? Get out of there!" I'm screaming at these guys, and like the guy comes up, "I'm here for my wet saw." I'm like, "This isn't your goddamn warehouse. Get out of my house!" I'm just screaming at him. So I find the guy, and he's there with his son, who I think is, I want to be careful with the term, but he's kind of a lumbering doofus.
A little bit special.
My mama done told me to catch me a rabbit.
That's what he sounds like. So, that's his son. He's like this big, like 6'3" monster, like just kind of like lumbering behind his dad. And so I tossed the father out the front door. My mother's like, "What?" And he goes, the guy turns around, he goes, "Don't you touch my son. Don't you put your hands on my son." And I'm like, I just started screaming at the son. I'm like, "Out, chop, chop, beat it. Get out of here. Get out of my house." So the son.
That's my anti-intruder technique.
Shoo.
Well, I'm also helping them along.
Right.
And so the guy gets outside, and I had just received a package of pastries for my sister-in-law.
Okay.
She runs a bakery.
Nice.
And it's a big box of pastries is sitting on my porch. It's just been delivered. The son of a bitch, we could swear, this cocksucker kicks my pastries on his way out.
Could he see what they were?
Huh?
Could he see what they were?
No.
Oh, okay.
He just knew it was a box that was yours.
Okay.
It was a box that was emanating goodness.
Right.
And he kicked it and gets out, out towards his car, and turns around, he's like, "Fuck you, I'll kick your ass, you pussy," he says to me. I turn around, I'm like, "Well, you're trespassing in my house, you've vandalized my property, and you just threatened me, and you're on tape." I'm like, "So if you want to go, let's do it now, because the cops are gonna see all this, and you'll be behind bars." And the guy was just like, "Bleh."
Good comeback.
He got into his car. He had to put on a little show for his son because I just tossed his dad out the door.
Yeah.
And so off he went. And I talked to my friend Pete. I was talking to one of my land developer friends he's not connected to comic books that I know of.
Oh.
And it's weird. And he was like, "Did you call the police?" He's like, "That sounds like something you'd call the police." I'm like, I don't think so. Like, there's a totally side story is that there's a huge corruption problem in my town with the police department, like a very bad corruption problem. And I'm like, unless there were like 5 of them, I mean, it would take a lot for me to call the police right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, this police station literally had a picture of Hitler in the locker room for 5 years.
That's not great.
5 years.
Wow.
What the hell, dude?
They literally.
Great.
I mean,
yeah, wow. What time do you live in there, Mayberry?
And next to the Hitler picture, they had Britney Spears. Guess the connection between Hitler and Britney.
They're white?
$100 to whoever gets it.
Whoa.
They're both fucking vegetarians.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of vegetarians, though. Why did they select those 2?
Well, it really was a coincidence. Zach should have gotten that one.
That's true.
Well, I should have. Sorry.
You weren't.
But I want to. That's an epic story, and just to put a tag on it, Nick and I we're wrapping up. He comes in, does a great job wrapping up the show, closes it. Nick says bye. Oh, we all did great. Internet high five. He gets off. He's like, "Hey, Zach, I disappeared for 5 minutes." I'm like, "Yeah, I figured, bathroom." I didn't say anything. He's like, "I almost got in a fist fight." I'm like, "You're in your fucking living room."
Right.
I'm like, how do you get in a fist fight?
Fucking intruders, man. I had fucking intruders. I had intruders in my house.
Philip, by the way, says, "I feel like this should be the plot for Clerks 4.
Yes.
There you go. We're executive producers of Clerks 4, everybody.
Hey.
We've come up with so many award-winning ideas just on this.
I want to do the elderly monsters concept. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That is Clerks 4, buddy.
Yeah,
That is Clerks 4,
we've
buddy.
merged our ideas.
We'll film it in black and white, and we just do long shots of them sitting on the porch talking. And then somebody dies in the bathroom. There we go. Send me my check, Hollywood.
Dude, you're giving it all away, man. Somebody's gonna run with that shit.
I know.
I got it for days.
And it needs to open. It needs to pan out slowly on a shot of a picture of Hitler and Britney Spears.
I'm going to do a documentary about the police station. I'm calling
And a
it
salad underneath. That's the
Yes. with a lettuce head and a heart around it.
a candle. Oh, sorry. Carry on. We interrupted here.
It's all good. I don't know who you're talking to, but
I
that
don't
was an
know
amazing
either.
story. I was saving that question for this stream because I really wanted to hear that full story.
Where are we, Clara?
I will track down the footage of me tossing this guy up my front.
Dude, please do.
My mother goes. I walk in. My mother was watching the kids. She goes, "Did you strike that man?"
Yeah.
I said, I put my hands on him. I did not strike him.
Just, yeah, you prom dated him out the door. Get out of here, asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Claire, we got any more?
Yes, here's one I wanted to bring up. I think this is an interesting one because it sort of brings out the question of terms, which I think is something that, all artists tend to develop their own vocabulary, so it can be tricky sometimes. Our friend Andrew J. Brown, who is a huge supporter of our show, says, and this was on the Buscema episode again, maybe I'm biased because John Byrne is one of my favorite classic artists. You mentioned John Byrne quite a bit in that one. But I feel like calling his work that cartoony stuff, which is something you said, Zach, is too harsh. The topic of this is Buscema, though, so I'll keep my thoughts about Byrne to just that. And I think, again, this is, like I said, I think this is a question of terms.
Let me say this about cartooniness. First of all, I don't see it as a negative.
Right.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Some of my favorite artists are cartoonists.
Who's a great cartoonist? Will Eisner.
Yeah.
Mike
Yeah.
Mignola.
Yeah.
Dave Sim.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just
Cartooning
Frank
is-
Miller's a cartoonist.
Yeah.
John
Cartooning is what I
Byrne.
do.
Magic
John
Kelly. You know, so Frazetta was a cartoonist.
Yeah.
He was.
So I think that's one thing. When you have that style, you develop a language for production that you can make one look good and two do it fast.
Yes.
So you have to develop a language for like each body part and things like that. And in doing so, John Byrne's language became this kind of bubbly, cartoony style that was intense and dynamic, but I would describe it as cartoony. Everybody's just kind of, he's not doing deep emotive work.
Right.
No, I mean, even he, if you read his old interviews, he admits he called his women, he said, all my women's heads looked like balloons.
Yeah, but what he does is brilliant. And so there's no slight there. And I just want to say that to Andrew, and I'm not trying to employ apologetics here. It's just to your point, Claire, and you said it very well. It's just a terminology thing. I literally accept all forms of illustration as talent, and some are harder than others, and some are blends of others. And just like music or any other art form, the best ones usually are combinations or simplifications of something. It's just a voice, so I don't see cartoony as negative. So if you took it that way, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I meant it as his language. He has a production style that's gorgeous, highly productive, unbelievably perfect for what he did throughout his career, and it brought so much joy to my life. But I would call him a cartoonist.
Yeah.
That's just what I would call him, and I mean that with the utmost respect.
Yeah, for sure. And I would agree with that. And it resonated with me because there was definitely a point in my life as a younger artist when I would have taken a comment like that badly. But you do reach a point where you realize like, oh, no, wait, it's all like equally valid. Because you know, when you're starting out, especially like when I was a younger artist, you have this, there's this voice that says you need to be like realistic and you need to be, more legitimate than just cartooning. And then you reach a point again where you realize that the cartoonists, that's just as much work, if not more, to simplify. And cartooning is what you and I both do. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just the commercial language that we work in. So as entertainers, so I mean, it's whatever you want to be. We're comic book strippers. Go up, give
to
us
me, the
all
highest compliment. Like when I think of cartoonists, I actually even in my own mind, and that's probably just me. I almost narrow it down to like the auteur guys, like Simonson or Miller, or people who are just
a great person to bring up.
They're just projecting. It's literally they're projecting from themselves onto the page.
Like stream of consciousness, like controlled lightning bolt. They're shooting at the page. There's no, seeming. It's just interesting what they do, and I don't have that skill, and it's really neat when people do get to.
Well, it's like I mean, is it weird that I would parse it that way? Like I think of like if I picked up an issue of Defenders that's written by Gerber, that's penciled by Perlin, that's inked by Sinnott, lettered by Joe Rosen or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't, and then somebody says this is David, Don Perlin. He later was known as D. David Perlin when he was working at Valiant. But I was like, I don't. It's like I don't say. If somebody says what's Don Perlin, I'd say Don Perlin's a penciler. And then if somebody said, oh, I just picked up that Fantastic Four issue that was written, drawn, and inked and penciled by John Byrne this month. What would you call John Byrne? Oh, he's a cartoonist.
Right.
Is that weird?
No, we got to make sense to ourselves in our heads so we can carry on discourse, right?
Yeah, but that works.
One thing a lot of young artists do, and sometimes just fans, is they cling to words rather than context, and so.
Because when you're a young artist, you exist so much without context. Sorry.
Yeah. No, what were you saying, Clara?
I was just saying when you are a young artist, the scary part is you exist without context because it's such an amorphous sort of field. Everyone sort of has to find their own way. So you do cling to your, you
don't have a voice yet. You have nothing to stand on, so you're projecting.
Yeah. It's like you're like a teenager clinging to your phases or whatever.
Yeah, your personas.
Yeah.
So,
right.
You grow out of that, or at least the best do, I think. But yeah, I get it. I really understand. Some people take offense by certain words, and I do understand that. But I just wanted to add a little, parsing of that for Andrew.
I also think it's because
John Byrne, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, we love him.
I think
we're having a John Byrne episode, everybody.
Oh yes. So, I may even own a piece of John Byrne artwork.
It'll be called Cartooning with John Byrne, Zach, and JC cartoon style. Extra cartoon.
Cartoony.
With the cartooniousness.
I don't go for that cartoony stuff.
Hey, F cartoony in the A.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and this reminds me of, I forget.
Somebody needs to F that cartoony stuff right in the A. Immediately.
I'm waiting.
Cartoony stuff.
Carry on, dear Clara.
I was just gonna say, I forget which episode it was. JC, you were talking about like Guy Davis, which like comes to mind. And I remember, and you said like the first time you saw his work, it seemed crude to you, and it was a real sort of deja vu for me because I very much had the same experience when I first saw his work. But again, I was very young then. I didn't really know like the kind of work that goes into the sort of simplified mastery. He's pared his work down so much. And again, like it's easy to just sort of say, oh, that's crude, or like, oh, that's cartoony, but it's masterful in its own way. He's found his own voice so completely that he can reduce his style to that. And that takes so much time and work. Like this is the issue I have with manga. Zach, we need to talk about manga sometime on PG-13, but manga is such a gateway art for young artists, but I think what they tend to not. What are you laughing at?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry, I derailed the whole thing. It's such a gateway art for young artists, but I think what is not understood is that very simplified style, you have to start with knowledge and then reduce.
And this is what I always tell you. To be able to break something down, you got to know it.
Yeah.
And then you can simplify it. You can't just start, I'm going to learn the simple lines. Look at the artist that does, I was drawing a blank, but Ghost in the Shell.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember. I'm a loser.
He can literally go between hyper dynamic to just literally looks like an animated cartoon within a page. Yeah. And so that's the beauty of sequential art, though. Mm-hmm. There's a voice for everything: cartoony, hyper dynamic. Barry Windsor Smith, my crap, Claire's stuff. JC's doing a comic about a water bear that serves beers. I mean, you can do anything you want, but there's no budget ceiling. Comics are awesome. You just think of it. And apply whatever.
And also, Claire was making a good point. You guys were talking about being able to do learning the layers and the underdrawing and all of the stuff that goes, you having to walk before you run kind of a thing.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see a lot of that when we do the Arthur Adams episode on Monday.
Yeah.
Because his possibly Adams's greatest legacy is the fact that he is the most imitated artist probably of the last 30 years.
Easily.
And so, but Arthur walked before he ran. Yeah. I mean, he had his anatomy, he had his shading, he knew perspective, he could do storytelling, he had all of that stuff.
Working off a golden success.
He was.
Just like I started as Mignola's guy.
You got it. I mean, that Michael Golden Doctor Strange issue was basically the template for Longshot, the entire Longshot, stylistically. But anyways,
hey, real quick pin. Shiro is the artist of Ghost in the Shell.
That's right.
So Philip, thank you, Philip.
Thank you. We got nerd schooled, everybody.
Sorry,
along the lines of walking before you run, there are so many imitators of Adams who to this day are still just doing the Adam, like all the little
post long shot Adams, like the X-Men annuals.
Well, they're doing Adam's hands or eyes or things like that, and it's all just on mushy
I got a little
composition.
Adams in my hands.
So you just get these
Yeah.
mushy.
Do this here, Claire. Do you do this? This is the Arthur Adams hands. Let's see if I can. It's backwards, so there we go.
Yeah, I definitely do the finger, always the front finger.
Yeah.
I still do that.
Like if you look at McFarlane's stuff, it looks like really mushy Arthur Adams.
It's chaos now. I can't even look at it. Where I loved it, I loved his Spider-Man run as a kid. His Hulk run, I was a fanatic. It's interesting how things change. Where now I'd rather look at a Zafino, whereas when I was a kid, I was like, "Who is this messy motherfucker on Punisher?"
Right.
You know, where now I just stare at Zafino and stare and stare and stare and stare. But let's get to our final questions, Claire. Sorry to cut everyone off. I want to get to what we can because we're running. I don't even see our time clock. Do you, Claire? 55.
We got a few more minutes here. I just wanted to hit one last thing. We have a comment on YouTube.
Great questions, though. This has been way better than I thought it was going to be.
No, this is
I
great.
was going to complain about this to my wife all night. No, I'm not.
We got great people. Thank you, everyone, for all the feedback. We love you guys. We have a comment on the Frazetta episode from Bill DeGeest, who is our newest Patreon supporter. So we'll be shouting him out. I'll have you guys shout him out on Monday when you record. He's awesome. Long-term fan of mine, so I got him on board. You're welcome.
Woo!
Because we started, like, our friendship started, Bill and I started just like for our mutual love of Frazetta and Hellboy. So we would just talk about those. And
those esoteric artists that nobody knows about or likes.
Know how to pick them. And he says, there will never be another like him. That is for damn sure. Great conversation. And I agree with that comment.
Thanks, man. That's awesome.
It was an amazing conversation as well.
Well, 3 guys that love Frazetta. One of them was super talented. JC got in a fist fight.
Yeah.
Who knows what I talked about?
We may have peaked with that episode. I don't know.
All downhill from here, folks.
I know, right? You've seen events of it.
Thanks for $40 a month for 1 month, and we're done.
Yeah. I will say it took me, I don't even remember how long, maybe years to hit $40 a month on my personal Patreon. So we're rocking it. It's going good. Thank you so much, everyone who is supporting our Patreon.
5 o'clock shadow and anime hair.
Yeah, there you go.
Ninja. Hey, Philip says, night all. Philip, thanks for joining us. Damon, thanks for joining us. All the people we don't know who have watched us, we've seen you come and go. Thanks for joining us. Claire, you want to take us out?
Well, let's do a quick plug first, just to cover. So from this point on, are we including the Walden episode in our free stuff? We're still doing that?
We can do that.
Okay. So starting
it's a good one, Arthur Adams. So
yes, starting after the Walden episode, we're going to go full Patreon, which means the episodes will still be available for free, but they will only be available on YouTube a month after they release on Patreon. So this is sort of our
lag, right?
Right, the month lag. We're going into the month lag from here on out, including these live streams, which will be only for our patrons. So this has been our free teaser. This has been our free trial of our podcast network. So we really hope you all jump on board and support us. We got a lot of cool stuff coming. We've been really proud of this. We've been working really hard on this. Zach is making faces. We love your support. We appreciate it. And we're all putting a lot into this. Wow. and please respect the effort I put into this, organizing these people here.
Unmatched. Miss Clara Meath, thank you so much.
Yes.
And
the blue Meath.
Washburn with the cool name and whatever else you do in the day. Try not to get in a fist fight in your kitchen, I guess.
Yeah.
Try not to, or living room, kitchen. The wall between your living room and kitchen, do not punch anyone.
Did you strike that man? Did you strike
Did you
that
strike
man?
that? I know. I could have been
She was
thinking.
af- she was- I think she was afraid I was going to get sued. She's like, "Did you hit that guy?"
Did you take part in fisticuff?
Yeah.
Did you go Queensberry rules on him?
I was like, "Mother, he was on the ground in an instant. I don't know what happened."
But
I bested him against my own better judgment, mother.
I was defending your honor.
Mother.
On that note, Clara, take us out if we can go while
We're good. We can go. I guess I will just say thank you so much, everyone who watched. Please support us if you are so inclined. Read comics, support comics. Good night.
Support
Bye.
cartoonists.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
cartoonists. Good night.
Bye.